Be good if I was off mute, wouldn't it?
Hi.
Hi, Grace. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm good.
Woo. Oh my
There you
God.
are. I
Oh
can
my
see.
God. Oh my God, we're doing it.
We're doing it. Yeah, I'm excited.
This is all the preamble that's about to go in.
So, hi, I am here this week with Conor Nolan, who is an actor slash agent. And I'm so excited to have you
Woo.
on.
Oh,
Yeah,
honestly, we've actually done it. We've actually figured out dates and we've got round to it. And I'm
I
like,
know. It's been a lot of yeah,
amazing.
busy people, but it's okay. We're here now.
We're doing it. It's all good.
Exactly. Did you know that you have such a badass last name?
I mean, I've always kind of known that, but why do you say that?
Christopher Nolan.
I see, of course. Well,
Yeah.
it was one of those. I remember when I was at school, and this has been what 15, 16, so 2009, 2010, and it was like you would go around the kind of pitch and stuff in like the rugby field, and people would be like, "Oh yeah, Christopher Nolan, yeah, yeah, yeah," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's my uncle," and they'd be like, "What?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm only joking." And they'd be like, I was cool for like 2 seconds, and
You
then
should
people
have
would be
just
like,
kept it
"Oh."
going.
I
Yeah.
know, but then I'd be living with a lie, Grace, and as we know, that's never a good thing.
No, it's true. It's true. But you could have had your fun there a little
I
bit
mean,
more.
there's Christopher Nolan, there's the Nolan sisters, and being of like kind of Irish stock, that leans way more.
Okay.
You get a lot more Nolan sisters than you do Christopher, unfortunately. But hey, I'm not knocking the Nolan sisters, man. They've got it going on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Do you have a favorite Christopher Nolan movie?
Oh gosh. There's that film. I'm a bit of a movie buff, you see.
Oh,
So yeah, I do. There's the film that he made that not a lot of people talk about called Insomnia, which is
okay.
really cool. So it's the one that he made between Memento and Batman Begins, and it's really good. Is it Al Pacino and Robin Williams,
Oh, cool.
and Al
Yeah.
Pacino plays this like is he a detective or a cop or something, and he suffers with insomnia.
Okay.
And then Robin Williams is this guy he's trying to solve this like case with or is involved in this case, and then there's a bit of a twist. But
Mm.
it's really good, and like not a lot of people like know it because
Yeah, I don't know about it. I'm gonna watch
everyone yeah, everyone knows the big hitters, like Dark Knight or
that. Mm.
Oppenheimer and Interstellar and all the big ones. But
Yeah.
there's the very first movie he made as well called Following, which was like way in like the mid to late 90s that came before Memento, which is supposed to be really good as well. But
Mm.
yeah, Insomnia, check it out. It's really, really cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks. That's a good
Rob,
recommendation.
yeah, Robin Williams and Al Pacino is like a, you know, double act on screen. It's cool, man.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds really good. So, should we start with your acting journey first? Because I feel like that came first before the agenting.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. Let's start with that then. Okay, so what really got you into acting and how did you end up in the acting industry, really?
Yeah, so my dad was an actor, or my
Okay.
dad is an actor as well. My dad is an actor and writer, producer, and stuff. And you might know my dad was actually in like a big comedy double act, and you might know the partner of his double act because his partner in the double act was Rob Wilkinson.
Oh, okay.
Who,
Okay.
for those that don't know, Rob Wilkinson runs Red Talent Management, which is the agency I work for, and is the agency that represents Grace.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So my dad and Rob were friends for a really long time, and they were in a theatre company together, and they created their own work, wrote their own work, took it up to Edinburgh for 7 or 8 years on the bounce, I think, and then produced their own work, had their own club where they would bring companies in and comedians and bands and stuff. So and yeah, and he's done bits and bobs on screen. He's done a fair bit of theatre over the last couple of years, which is nice. And so yeah, kind of got into it through that really. And then when I was 13, joined an amazing theatre company called Ego Performance Company, who are based in Coventry and are still going strong, making incredible work. They're off on tour in the UK this year, which is so exciting. It's been so long since they've gone out on the road and showcased their work and stuff. So I'm so excited for them this year. So they're off on tour. So was with them from when I was about 13 through to 18, and then Did my A levels, got into the Arts University Bournemouth, doing a BA honours acting degree. Graduated from there in 2015.
Mhm.
Worked fairly consistently from 2015 up until the very start of 2020, doing like,
Yeah.
you know, like,
COVID.
yeah, just a little thing that we may not know about.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then but no, I was so lucky though, Grace. I was uh, toured across the country, went out to Dubai for a little bit, did shows out there, predominantly in theatre, and then yeah, and then COVID hit, and then I didn't work for the best part of sort of a year and a half, really, a couple of years, because I didn't really have a what I call like a muggle CV.
Mhm.
I'd never done like a normal job like waiting tables or stacking shelves or anything like that. My CV had only ever been like acting work, really. So I was really really lucky.
Mm.
But then yeah, and then what happened was I can't remember what the kind of catalyst was, but at the university that I used to go to down in Bournemouth, because it's so kind of far out of the way, whenever we have like grad shows and stuff, we'd always send out like emails and postcards to agencies and casting directors to be like, hey, come and see our shows.
Yeah.
And it was so rare that people came because it was so
Far away, yeah.
far out of the way. And so I said to Rob, who runs Red Talent, I was like, oh, I'm going to reach out to Bournemouth and maybe see if maybe we can go down and audition their third year students, because if any,
Mm.
it's a win-win for them because they get to have a chance to meet an agent and do like a kind of mock audition, really, and it's great for you because you can then potentially go down and see some of the talent sort of down there, really.
Yeah.
So we went down there, and by then I was just an actor who'd made the connection, really. So we
Mm.
went down there and auditioned the guys, and they were all so cool, and it was really lovely. And it's the first time I'd gone back there since I'd graduated, so that had been 7 years since I'd been there. So
Mm.
literally walked in, all my old teachers were there and stuff, and I was like, "Hi guys." So then, literally on the train back, um, Rob was like, "Oh, would you mind looking at Spotlight for a bit and doing like submissions and stuff?" And I was like,
Mm.
"Okay, cool."
Fresh air.
Yeah, yeah. So I just did that for a bit, and it was weird because I was like, submitting people for work who were like my friends and stuff,
Mm.
and I was like, this is really strange, and that kind of started the ball rolling of sort of opening the door to agency stuff, really. Then, and so it was seeing like,
Mm.
oh, this is pretty cool, and I've been doing that now for it's coming on 3 years now, which is wild. Like, that's gone so
Mm.
quickly. So yeah,
Oh, Matt, that's awesome. I had no idea about that connection. That's crazy with Rob.
yeah, man,
Dang.
yeah.
I was
Rob,
like,
he's basically like my second dad, effectively.
I think he's everyone's second dad. He's so lovely.
Pretty much,
He's
yeah.
so,
Like
so
his
lovely. Yeah. So going back to like you being in Bournemouth and stuff like that, because I'm always interested about how performers make it outside of London because I think it's 100% doable. And people, I think actors as well, we all come up with these myths about you have to be in London to be a successful creative and all of that. And
yeah.
there's a little bit of truth in that, I think, because there's a bit more opportunities here. But how did you find sort of navigating the industry from Bournemouth, or did you move somewhere else after you graduated?
Yeah, so when I graduated, I for years actually I had a kind of on and off job working at Warwick Castle, being
Okay.
the like London Dungeon. So they had
Yeah.
the dungeon over at Warwick Castle. So I started doing that when I was about 17, like kind of seasonally. And so when I graduated, I was what, 21. So then I moved back home up to Coventry, and I became like a permanent member of staff at Warwick for about a year. And so when I was at home, on the days that I wasn't working at the castle, I was basically looking through Spotlight like every day, like Monday to Friday, just looking at every single thing. And if I thought I was suitable for it, I would literally like, put my nudge in. And if it was like, looking for, male in 20s, it's like, okay, let's just, throw my hat in the ring, see what happens. If it was
Mm.
quite specific and it was like, needs Midlands base, no taller than 5'6" or whatever, I'd be like, yes. And so then I'd just send a quick email and be like, can you add in the notes like this bit? And they were like,
Mm.
as well as that, I would literally just look through Arts Jobs UK
Okay.
every day the great thing is with Arts Jobs UK is, one, it's free,
Yeah.
and two, like you can filter things through. So if you want to, you can only look at things in like the Midlands, you know, you can do it by discipline as well. So you could only look at things maybe for like for theatre or for film or for like art, all that sort of stuff. I'm a massive advocate of Arts Jobs UK. I think it's great. So I
Mm,
literally look through that every single day, and that's actually what led to my first kind of professional gig. Really, is that there's a great TIE company in Birmingham called Big Brum, who are fab. Like I have so much time for Rich and the team there, and I applied. They put something out on Arts Jobs UK, and I applied directly to them through that, and then they asked me to come along, and I went for an audition, and then all went from there, and that led to my first kind of professional gig. Really, is with those, or outside of university anyway. Is my first proper gig with those guys.
mm,
So yeah, so I completely agree. You can make it outside of London, and you don't need to have a London base. It helps. It massively helps. Of course, it does. But what I say to any kind of graduate or to any actor who's just starting out, it's like wherever you're based, whether it be, you know, in London, or if you're from like the Midlands or up north or down south or wherever it is, have a look and see what's at your home base first.
mm,
And then, and because you'll be surprised at how many kind of things are in there, you know,
mm,
once you've exhausted all those opportunities, then spread your net a little bit wider, you know,
mm.
and then spread it a bit wider and wider still. So then you've got this whole database of companies and people that you can then potentially reach out to, you know.
Yeah.
Always start at your home base. If you've got multiple bases that you can stay at, then that's great.
Mm,
I'd say wherever you're going to be based for the foreseeable future, see what's around there first, and
yeah.
then, you know, once you've exhausted everything, then spread your net a bit wider, I'd say.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a really good tip. I think people forget that some things are literally right in front of them.
Yeah,
And like you
100%.
just think you're like, I'm going to go to London. Like that's it. I mean, that was my option. That's what I did. But I think, yeah, you do just forget what's literally in front of you. And people are creating stuff all the time, which is great. And I
100%.
think you get a bit more varied productions with
Mm.
things that aren't London. There's a
Yeah,
lot more like risk taking, there's a little more, it's just a bit more alternative. There's just a bit more going on in terms of like risk taking, I think.
yeah. It's an interesting one with where we're at with theatre at the moment, and because you find that especially with a few different kind of like theatres outside of London, so like regional theatre, you find that a lot of people will collaborate with each other to put plays on. So before it would be a case of, you know, Birmingham Rep presents this, you know, now it's like Birmingham Rep in conjunction with this theatre and this company create this. So it's
Mm,
a case of they all put investment into this production, and then that production will maybe start at the Rep, then go up to, you know, whatever the theatre may be in like York or Leeds, for instance. Then it maybe goes down to, I don't know, like Kingston, and then maybe it goes up to Hull. Do you know what I mean? Because it's
mm,
just like a little tour, all
mm,
that sort of stuff, you know. So I think that's where we're at the moment. It's a lot of co-productions happening with lots of different companies. So I would always say to people as well, like wherever you are in your home base, go and see stuff.
mm.
Go and see what, you know, have a look to see where your kind of closest, like kind of good regional theatre is, and see what comes in. And you may just have like kind of touring productions that might just come in for like a day or you know, a couple of days,
Mm.
and they might go off. But then say if there's a, you know, homegrown production, go and see it.
Yeah,
And then I've done it before where if you go and see something and you can see yourself in it, and I'm like, I could do that,
yeah.
that role there, I could do that. Go away and have a look at actually into the company,
Mm.
do your research, and then I've done it before where I went to see this great production by a company called Tall Stories that did, I think it was Gruffalo's Child.
Yeah, okay. I feel like I recognize that name, but
Yeah. It might have been I think it was the Gruffalo. It was either the Gruffalo or the Gruffalo's Child, but it was definitely one of those. This is a while ago now. But I went to see their show when it came into my at home, and because a friend of mine had worked for them, and he's like, "They're really good. Go and see them." And I was like, "Okay." And I was in this theatre, and it was basically me and basically a load of children and their mums, and I was just one just dude who was just like sat at the back by himself. Okay, I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Where's your child?"
I'm just
So
here to see the art.
yeah, it's fine. I'm just and I then dropped them a line a day or two later, and I said, you know, just to say I went to see your show, and it was, you know, really cool, and I, you know, I loved it, and like, I understand that you're planning to do this later on in the year, and if you're casting, I'd love to be considered for, this
Mm.
particular role, because looking at the skill set that they have, I could, I fit that, and here's my experience doing kind of family theatre and stuff. And they got back to me that day,
Oh,
said like, thanks so much for reaching out. We'll definitely, keep you in mind when the casting rolls around. And I was like, great, so it's like, so it does,
mm,
that won't happen all the time, but it does work. Honestly, if you
mm.
do your research and you're specific, and it's like, if anything, you're trying to solve their problem.
Yeah.
You're trying to, and it's you wanting to work with them, and
Mm.
showing and putting yourself out there, because, you are your business,
Yeah. I
you know.
think it's right about showing a actual interest because lots of people say, "Oh, I'll go see that," and they email without seeing stuff. And like it
Yeah.
it's difficult, isn't it? But like if you have shown a real key interest in that, people really appreciate that. They
Yeah.
really do. They're like, "Oh, you actually do pay attention and you're not actually, you are listening." It's like the same with like networking. I always think like when I go to I hate networking events, but when you go to them, I'm like, I'm just literally going to ask you questions because I don't want to sit here and sell myself because I feel like everyone loves to talk about themselves, not in like a selfish way, but people love to tell people and people love to have that reciprocation of, oh, I'm actually interested in you and all those different things. And that for me works so much better than me just coming in and being like, hi, I'm an actor and I've done this, 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 and this. And you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's a similar thing for me as well. Like when I'm going to the Actors Pro Expo on the 22nd down in London,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting on this, like, there's like an audition panel.
Yeah.
I'm like a bit like the X Factor, and I'm sat on the other side of it, and there's all these actors going to come in and like audition,
Mm,
and they've got a minute. They've got a minute to basically say like, here's me. And
yeah.
like, gosh, and it's so amazing for those guys, and they could be at any point sort
Mm,
of in their kind of career, in their sort of journey and whatnot. And you're just like, gosh. But it's the same when you go to like grad shows as well, or showcases.
yeah.
I've been to a few showcases down at like Seven Dials Playhouse
Nice.
in London, which is really, and I love it in there. They put on this amazing, the Seven Dials themselves put on this fantastic show called Diary of a Somebody a year or
Okay.
two, which was it's all about the story of Joe Orton, playwright Joe Orton,
Okay.
entertaining Mr. Sloan and Loot and stuff. And it's this, if any of you've been to Seven Dials, it is a
Yeah,
tiny
it's really
place.
small.
And I think there's no more than maybe like 80 or 100 people in there. And I went to see it, and I was just there like, these guys are so good. Like,
Mm,
it's such a good show. And I loved it so much. And then, so since going back there to go to like showcases and grad shows and stuff, it's like you go and speak to the actors afterwards. And I know it's like, it's so tough for them as well, because they're just there like, oh, I hope someone comes up and speaks to me and stuff, and it's really nerve-wracking. It's kind of nerve-wracking for me as well, because like you're sat there with all these other casting directors and agents and stuff, and they're like, they'll have their program with the headshots next to them, and they'll be making notes, and I'm like, oh, I need to make, God, do I need
Should I
to
get a pen?
I was like, oh, no, I need to make notes as well. Oh gosh, and then it's like, oh no, but I don't want them to see what I'm writing, because then they might, oh, do you know what I mean? And you're just like, no. And so then you've then got to, then go up to these actors and stuff and be like, hello, and like you're kind of,
Yeah.
you're not selling yourself, but it's quite a vulnerable thing to kind of be like, hey, you're,
That's so true. I've never actually thought about it that way. Very
yeah.
selfish me. It would have been like, oh, are they gonna?
I
Yeah.
mean, your words, not mine, but no, but, but no, it is that thing of like, and it's one of those things where sometimes, you'll be really, it's that thing where you really like someone and you have a meeting and like you vibe and stuff, and then they may well come back to you and go, do you know what? Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. But just so you know, I'm deciding to, sign
Mm.
with someone else. And you're like, ah,
Mm.
cool. All right.
Yeah.
Do you know? And it is one of those things where, and do you know what? Rob from Red taught me this great lesson, and he's like, just never ever take anything personally.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Don't take it personally, because it's like, I've started saying to people now, like, it's show business, you know, and there's a reason why business is a bigger word.
Mm.
It's like, don't ever, and even like, because you sometimes like you'll get messages from actors and stuff, and they'll be like, going through some stuff, and you're just there like, yeah, because you've no idea what might be going on in the background with somebody, or and that agent they may have signed with had just said just said the right things, and you're just there like, yeah,
Yeah.
but you always say to people like, always, if ever you just want to chat in future of, even just to get some advice, or even if you're in something like, because I just really like you as a person, like, let me know, because I'd love to come and see it, because, we could just be, we could be mates if nothing else.
Yeah, no, but I think that's something that's quite special about Red actually, because it was definitely one of the reasons why I signed with Red was like just I don't know, the humility behind it. It was
Yeah,
like it was a great connection with Rob like straight away, and so that's why I was a bit like, yeah, this is this is right type
yeah.
thing.
It's,
Yeah,
what I love about all of us as well is that we've all been on both sides of the table.
yeah, that really helps.
We've
Yeah.
all of us been working actors and stuff, so we know about, it's the communication side of it, and just the honesty of whatever it might be, whether it be, a tape you've done or feedback, whatever it might be.
Mm.
There's no, skirting around the issue. It's like, yeah, we'll just be honest.
Yeah.
Also about, whether it be expectations or anything else, but also knowing that, as well as an actor, first and foremost, like you're a human being, you're a person, and if you need to, for whatever reason, go and take some time, or if you need just to, a bit of self-reflection, or if you need to just go and like earn some money for a bit, like, do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because we've all done it, and we've all been there, so,
Mm.
life is what happens when you're too busy making other plans.
That's very true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very true. So what goes on to my next question that kind of leads quite nicely is that yeah, thank you very much.
No, 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 no. It's like I've done this before.
I know. Um, but yeah, so what have you taken, I think, from the agenting side that's useful for the actor? Because I've spoken to some casting associates that kind of do a similar role. So they're an actor and a casting associate. And sometimes I've heard where they go, you know what, I actually know too much about the process now, and that
Mm.
kind of hurts me as an actor. But then also there's other things that I can take from it that really do help because I'm
Yeah.
an actor. Do you have any of those?
Gosh, the first thing that comes into mind, just because people have only today, like somebody has sent me a self tape and they've said, "What can you think of this? What do you think of this?" And for me, it almost is the thing that literally pops to my mind. First of all, is practical things. So things like, whenever you do a self tape, try, if you can, to put it in an MP4 file, not MOV, because whenever you film something on your phone or on a tablet, it immediately goes to being a MOV file or MOV, and that file is always going to be really big.
Mm,
And when you send off a tape, it said, always make sure your tapes are below, so ever many MB,
yes.
whatever. A MOV file is always going to be really big. And I find that with MOV files, sometimes either the picture won't work or the sound won't work.
Oh, okay.
So I always say to people, there's a website, I think it's called Cloud Converter. There's something that I always say to people: make sure your self tapes are not in MOV, they're in MP4.
Mm,
And you can use that cloud converter to convert that same video from MOV to MP4. And it's exactly the same quality. You'll always get sound, you'll always get picture, and the file size is always a lot smaller. You've
mm,
got a much better chance of sending it through an MP4 file than you do with MOV. Also, little thing as well, labeling tapes,
yeah.
like just little things of like, you don't, so the we transfer thing, you don't label that, you label the
The
tape.
actual file, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And it literally just is a case of, getting the tape in front of you as an MP4, right clicking it, and then labeling it exactly as they've said.
Mm,
Because we are now seeing things like, won't be watched if not labeled correctly.
right.
You're like, right, okay.
So
So
that's
just
the big
always,
thing, yeah.
that's
Mm,
the thing. That's the thing that always kind of sticks out for me. And not every, some people are a bit more kind of like, you know,
roll with
relaxed
it.
with it. And it's, yeah. And it's like, okay, well, at least we've got it and we can see it's from their email address. So it's fine. But sometimes people will be like very strict and be like, we'll only watch if it's labeled correctly. So just always, double check on that email to be like, right, so how do they want it labeled? Okay, and literally do it like that. Um, Little things as well. No matter if you have an agent, if you're self-represented, whatever it might be, always read the brief. Always double check the brief on Spotlight from top to bottom,
Mm,
because sometimes, and it could be anything from, are you definitely available during those times? Are you, it sounds silly, but are you the right ethnicity that they are looking for? Are you the right height? Do you have a base where they're asking if you have a base? And if you don't, for whatever reason, if you want to still be submitted on that thing, that's okay. But just know then that at some point, if you do get offered it, you're going to have to find somewhere to stay
Yeah.
in that place, whether it be London, Manchester, whatever it is. If you're saying that you have a base there, you must be willing to have a base there, even if it's covered it by your own cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just little things like just always double check the brief.
Yeah, they're useful. They're really, really useful. I didn't think about the file. That's a new one to me, actually. The
Yeah, it's
mob
only
file.
only because it only comes around every so often, because some people, you know, due to speed, will think, it's got to be in by, say,
Yeah.
end of play Friday, and they're like,
Yeah.
right, so I'll do it now. Okay, I'm happy with it now. Right, literally direct WeTransfer to that address, and it's like,
Hold fire.
take your time. Honestly, take your time. And especially with tapes, like the worst thing an actor can say is maybe do it like once or twice and be like, oh yeah, that'll do. It's like,
Mm,
no, just
yeah.
take your time, and like if when you're really happy with it, then send it, because then at least then you'll have no regrets.
Yeah.
Even as a trial run, send it to yourself first.
Mm.
Send it as an email almost to yourself first, just to see if you can download it and see if it all works okay.
Yeah.
And then it's like, right, okay, now I can send it to them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, useful. Can you, for people who may be just starting out in the industry, can you explain very kind of briefly, if you can? I know all processes are slightly different on the agenting side, but what it looks like from when you receive a breakdown, you submit, and
Mhm.
maybe someone's had a recall, that whole process of someone
Yeah.
getting a part.
Oh, those are good days. No, so how effectively, we've got so we have Spotlight in front of us. What I will say, what an agent sees on Spotlight is different to what an actor sees.
Yeah.
What an actor sees is what I would call public Spotlight. So if you've got a Spotlight account, you will see a few things of what is on there. An agent will see everything.
Yeah.
An agent will see everything from Mission Impossible and the big hitters, down to the small scale sort of touring shows, or
Day player roles type
yeah,
thing.
whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, like walk-ons, for instance. So
Hmm.
it's a case then of we see a job, or like the briefs that are in there. We then submit the people that we think are best suited for that particular part. Sometimes it's super broad, other times it's very specific.
Hmm.
Sometimes that day or later on in that week, but sometimes on that day, we get an email from the casting director to say, hey, thanks so much for your submissions in this. Can we get this person or these people to self-tape for this part? We then email that out to our actors and say, hiya, are you able to, tape for this? Are you available? Da da da. They come back and ideally say, yes, we can. And we're like, great. We'll then go back to the CD and say, yeah, these people are confirmed to tape. The actor then does their tape. They then send it off as an MP4 and all labeled correctly. Uh, they send that off to the CD, and then the CD then could come back and say, "That's great." Could they do either a second tape, or could they come for an in-person audition, or whatever it might be? If it's like theatre, sometimes it's a tape. Other times it's like, can they be at this location at this time? For if it's a musical, it might be, can they be here for the singing call or the dance call?
Mm.
Can they be here for in person and stuff? And then they go off and do the in person or do whatever it might be. They then come back and say, we'd like to. Sometimes it might be a case of just a straight, offer. Some people it might be, we'd like to pencil them for this, or we'd like to heavy pencil them for this. A pencil effectively means that, so they've been shortlisted. Heavy pencil means it's like they're very close to being offered it. Then it's just a quick, like, are they for sure available on these days? Are they
Yeah.
for do they for sure have a base in, I don't know, Bristol or whatever it might be? We
Yeah.
go back to the actor and be like, just confirm all of this, please. And then they come back and like, yeah, we'll do it. And we're like, great. And then it's a case of then they'll be offered the job. And
Yeah.
then it's like, do you want to do it? Yes. woo, and then they will contact us then, and then they'll send all the contract through and stuff. Then we'll go through it.
Mm.
If there's anything that we think could be sort of discussed, then we have that conversation with the producer or whoever it might be, and then it's all signed off, and then that person goes off and does that job.
Yeah, in all theory. So it's a lot of liaising, isn't it? Back and forth, a lot of
Yeah.
liaising.
Mhm.
And so if people are emailing in to be represented, is there anything that you like as an agent that stands out, or just out of common courtesy? Is there any
Yeah.
like pointers?
Oh gosh, it's a bit like what I said earlier about when you write to a company or a casting director. Like, be specific and like be personable.
Mm,
Don't for me, like, I mean, this is for me, and I'm not speaking for anyone else, and especially not for any kind of CDs or producers, whoever it might be. If it's not the the most, informal email, like that, I don't mind,
you
as
don't
long
mind.
as it's you that's writing it,
Mm,
that's fine. And if bits of your kind of personality come out through that, great. You know.
mm,
But ideally, like, if you would like me to have a conversation with you or any other member of the team, write to them.
mm,
Have a look on our kind of website and go like, okay, so right, what kind of work do you guys do?
mm,
What is it about the little kind of blurb that's on my sort of the little profile thing that really appeals to you?
mm, mm,
What is it? What is it about Red or about me specifically that means that you would love to have a chat with me? You know,
mm,
because if it's just because and some people it is just a case of like dear Red Talent, which is fine because maybe they want a bit more sort of clarity on certain things, which is absolutely fine. But it is always nice whenever you do, not sort of fueling my ego, but it is that nice thing of like whenever somebody says, dear Connor,
yeah.
it's like, oh, right.
Oh,
So
that's for me.
it's for me, and
Mm,
I will then for sure, have a good read of it. And it's
mm,
that thing. And sometimes, we do check it every now and then, but for whatever reason, sometimes they may fall into junk,
mhm,
which does happen, but we do check it, every so often to be like just in case things have been missed and stuff. But if it ever is like written to me, then I will, endeavor to, get back to you
mm.
as quick as I can.
Yeah, yeah. And is there anything, I mean, I don't know if there is, to be honest. It's like you said, you put your personality, you do your research, but is there anything like subject headline that helps attract attention, or is it just,
All caps,
yeah,
you know.
please, please what?
All caps. Representation. No, I mean, it could be anything, honestly. It even, like FAO, like for the attention of, Connor, all that sort of stuff. It could be different. I mean, also, this kind of applies to like kind of casting directors and companies as well. Like, if you're ever going to reach out to people, go and see what they've done, but what they've done recently.
Okay.
I spoke to a casting director late last year who was the CD on these really big shows that were on Channel 4 about 15, 20 years ago. Like if you're into sort of big Channel 4 comedies from 15, 20 years ago, you can hazard a guess at what those are.
Mm,
So I spoke to that casting director who was lovely, and I said like, oh, are you okay with people reaching out to you directly, like about particular
mm.
projects and stuff? And they said that's absolutely fine, but ideally they will have seen what I've done recently and not those things that I worked on 15 years ago.
Ah, okay.
Because it's
Nice.
those things of like, because those, it's almost like if ever you see an interview with any band or any singer, the thing that they're proudest of is the thing that they've just made.
Okay.
It's like, Paul McCartney talks about like, when I play gigs, like people expect me to do Beatles songs or whatever. And then he's like, yeah, and here's one of my new record. And he's just like, and then it's like a black hole, you know. You don't see any cameras, no lights or anything. He's just there like, oh, okay, that's nice. And then he'll
Yeah.
do Hey Jude, and he's like, right. And then it's like, oh, sky full of stars.
Yeah.
Um,
That's such a good tip.
Even with those like casting directors and stuff who are fab. I love people like Jane Frisbee and
Oh.
Jane Frisbee, Sharon Sorrentino. These great guys, who are so lovely.
Mm,
Um, you know, if you're going to reach out to like those guys, see if you can find what they've cast recently.
Mm,
All you
mm,
need to do is just go onto their IMDb and it will
yeah.
show you what they've cast recently. Go and find it, you know.
Mm,
Then reach out and be like, you know, hey, I've just recently watched these films that you've cast, you know. I really
mm,
enjoyed them. Like, here's what I enjoyed about them, you know. I
mm,
understand that you're at the moment you are casting this project, you know.
yeah.
I would, you know, for the part of, you know, this, you know, I
Mm,
would love to be considered, you know. Here's my stuff, you know, and if there's anything else you need, you know, let me know.
yeah.
Thanks. You know,
Amazing.
just little things like that. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, do the research and put the effort in and really like, you know, it's you wanting to work with them,
Mm, yeah.
you know, and I think it's really, you know, and even like, you know, for, and if they, you know, if it's not meant to be this time for whatever reason, it's like, you know, it's still, it's keep that iron in the fire.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
connection, a connection is a connection. I love there was the casting director or someone that you interviewed not too long ago, and he was like, you know, it doesn't matter if you worked with that person 5 years ago. Like,
Oh, so I think that's Brian. Yeah, Brian.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it doesn't matter if you worked with that person 5 years ago. It's a connection is a connection is
Yeah.
a connection, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
I completely agree,
He
you know.
was great. He literally was just like, cut the bullshit, Grace. I was there like, he was just like, it was like, you English people are so like, oh yes, please, all this stuff.
That
And
was it. Yeah, I thought he was
I was
American.
like, but that's so me though. I was there like, if I don't want to, and he was like, no, Grace. He was like, cut the bullshit, get in there. I was there like, okay, all right, well, we'll do it. But yeah, my one of my last questions is going to be, I think, is out of curiosity, what is not really what's being casted at the moment, but is there more? What are you kind of seeing in the breakdown sphere of like, is it more TV? Is it more film? Is it more theatre? Is there a particular genre that's really going for it at the moment?
Um, it depends on the day.
Okay.
It always depends on the day. I think it's an interesting one where we are. I was reading an article about this recently, and I think somebody said we don't need a reset, but there is a tipping point coming.
Okay. And what do
Which
you mean by that tipping point?
so like it's an interest with screen in particular. I think with people like the BBC and ITV and Channel 4, the big streaming companies are just making so much work and they've got so much money.
Hmm.
People like Netflix and Disney and Amazon and Apple, you know, I'm surprised to be fair that like Google hasn't started a streaming
Yeah,
service,
that's so
you
true,
know,
actually. Mm.
or do you know what I mean? And that sort of thing, because it's like, because these guys are making really high quality TV and films, you know, and you know, guys like the BBC and ITV and Channel 4, it's like, you know, there's less and less money coming through, you know, and you've got, you know, there's an article I read recently. So the most recent season of Wolf Hall, so the big BBC costume drama based on the Hilary Mantel books with like Mark Rylance and Damian Lewis, and it's bloody brilliant. And the first series of that went out, I think, when I was at university.
Okay.
Taken a long time to get the second series made. One because of funding.
Mm.
They've
Okay.
just hardly, you know, nowadays like there's just really struggling to get, you know, the funding for things. So that I think that the showrunner and Mark Rylance too have both said like we had to take a major pay cut to get this show made. You know,
Mm.
these like big budget, like, you know, big like kind of costume dramas and stuff. Like, you know, if you look at Netflix with things like, you know, Bridgerton and stuff, it's like, yeah, it's fine. You know,
Yeah.
with like The Crown and things like that, you're like, yeah, it's cool. On,
Mm.
you know, the kind of smaller, you know, with people like kind of BBC and stuff, it's like, you know, there's a whole article I've read recently about like, you know, there's a people are kind of really sort of struggling to get things made.
Okay.
You know? So I think it's this thing of, you know, it's upping the license fee. It's things like, you know, could the BBC implement something like what kind of Netflix and Amazon have done, some sort of subscription service
Mm.
where
Okay.
for if you pay a little bit more, maybe you get, you know, like, you know, a bit like ITV, like you get like exclusive shows purely for iPlayer, and
Mm.
then we'll maybe go out on BBC maybe 6 months down the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Conversations like that happening, you know, and you're like, interesting. So
Yeah.
I do think that, you know, there are things still being made, and there are still people out there that are doing amazing work, both on screen and on stage. But I think it's so important now more than ever to go and see stuff. You know, I'm making it a real point this year to watch like British made stuff. You know, even
Mm.
things that I wouldn't normally watch.
Yeah.
You know, as a viewer, like there's things that I maybe wouldn't normally watch, but I'm now starting to find because it's important.
Yeah.
I've just recently started finished actually watching this show called Out There, which is made by ITV.
Oh yeah. I feel like yeah, I need to watch that. That's on my
It's
list.
it's so good. It's
Mm.
really good. So like, and it's awesome British made shows. People, things like Out There and Mr. Loverman that was on BBC last year, which is so good. And it's like you see the kind of end of year lists of, you know, the best TV made in,
Mm.
or the best TV that was out in like last year, and so many things. It's made by, like, the money comes from places like Netflix and HBO,
Mm.
and you know, shows up all these different places, and you're just there like, so go and find all
Yeah.
these shows that, like, these awesome like British casting directors are making. You know, your
Mm.
Sharon, you know, your Jane Frisbee's, your you know, Shaheen Baig's, you know, Hammond Cox, whatever it, all these, you know, there's all these names going to come to me now, but like all these fab people,
Yeah.
like go and watch their work,
Yeah.
and then reach out and just be like, do you know what, I really like your work.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
really good. Here is what I love about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so important now more than ever. Even going out there and finding like little kind of like smaller kind of British independent films.
Yeah.
You know, all these kind of things out there. Like go and theatre, like go and see stuff.
Mm.
Don't be afraid of going to speak to people afterwards and be like, that was great.
Yeah.
You know, all these really cool things. So like, just do not go and. It's important now more than ever
Okay. Yeah.
to go and see stuff and go and support people's work, because it's you need to. We need
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
I I went to this event recently with Royal Television Society Awards, and Stephen Knight was there. Stephen Knight's the creator of Peaky Blinders
Yeah.
and SAS Rogue Heroes, which is also on my watch list to go and see,
Hmm.
which is really looks really good. Um, and he just said something really simple, and he was just there like, we need to be better.
Mm.
You know, we need to be better. You know, we've done okay, but we need to be better. And
Mm.
to me, I just thought that as like, yeah, what if you wouldn't normally watch something,
Yeah.
go and see it, go and support those that are making it,
Mm.
support it,
Yeah. No, that's great.
and
That's
then
great.
if you can, tell them it's good.
Mm.
You
Mm.
know,
Yeah. No, that's great. And my last question is what advice would you give to any creative?
there are two kinds of people in this world. There are the people that if you tell them you're going to do something, will say, "Yeah, let's
Hmm.
do it. How can I help?" And then the other people will give you a list of reasons why it can't be done.
Okay.
Surround yourself with the first kind of people.
That was so dramatic and I love that. That's amazing.
But it is that thing of like, you know, it's as creatives as people, a really a good friend of mine, John. He like I went to see him at a play in Derby, and he was great. And then we both had a mutual friend, and I met him at a football match, and I was like, I've seen you act.
Mm.
Like, you're great. And he was like, thanks. And I was like, no way. And so we kind of connected from there, and he applied for this writing competition at Derby Theatre.
Yeah.
Recently, I went to see them do the R&D of his show,
Nice.
and I was like, yeah.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
like, again, just surrounding himself with just good, like-minded people of like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and I
Yeah.
might fall flat on my face, and this email may not even get read that
Yeah.
with my application and stuff, but I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah.
Then, you know, I went to his R&D, and we, you know, I think we had one of our actors that was in the R&D who was ace. We then said, oh, if you need a dramaturg, like, we've got Sarah Myers, who's a bloody brilliant dramaturg who can come in and do it. And then she went and worked on it, and we had Steve that worked on it, and it was just like, yeah, like you just surround yourself with people that say, yes,
Yeah.
this can,
Proactive people. Yeah.
yes. It's like, this can be done.
Mm, mm,
What can I do to help?
yeah.
It's like, yes,
Mm.
surround yourself with like-minded people. And it's good sometimes to get those people that will say, oh, well, have you thought about this? And, well, what about this? Oh, I don't know. No, it's fine because it's just, okay, right. Let's find the yes to those questions.
Yeah. It's pinch of salt, isn't it? Pinch of
Yeah,
salt.
it's like, let's get over those. Let's find a way then to get over those hurdles.
Yeah.
It's because it can be done. If you want to put on a play, if you want to, you know, whatever it might be, like it can be done.
Mm,
It can
yeah.
be done. And don't ever be afraid to ask someone for help or advice to be like, I don't, I'm not sure how to do this. It's like,
Mm,
go and reach out to some people, go and ask people to see if they can help. And if they
great.
can, they will.
Great. Thank you so much. It's been
You're
so
so
good to talk to
welcome.
you. It's been so great.
It's cool.
Thank you.